Aaron Chase was not a man of big dreams. He worked quietly at a space repair station far from Earth, on the edge of a small asteroid belt. The station was old, with faded walls and humming machines that never stopped. Most days, he fixed broken wires, cleaned out ship engines, or helped travelers with basic repairs. It wasn't exciting, but it was peaceful. He liked working with machines more than people. They didn't lie, complain, or surprise him. One cold morning, Aaron was adjusting the cooling system in the back room when the bell over the door rang. He wiped his hands and walked to the front. A tall woman stood there, silent. She was wearing a full suit of armor, silver and dark blue, scratched and burnt in several places. The helmet covered her face, and her voice came through a small speaker. It was calm and direct. "I need this armor repaired, as soon as possible." Aaron blinked. The armor looked different, stronger and more advanced than what he usually saw. It had markings he didn't recognize and materials he had only read about in manuals. But he nodded. "Okay, I'll take a look," he said. She handed over the armor slowly. It was heavier than it looked, and as Aaron carried it to the workbench, he felt something strange. The armor wasn't just protective gear, it had layers of hidden technology. There were energy shields, communication chips, and even some organic circuits built into the chest piece. He turned to ask her about it, but she had already taken a seat in the corner, helmet still on. She sat straight, barely moving. Aaron was used to chatty customers, pilots who talked about their travels, and smugglers who bragged about near escapes. But she said nothing, just watched. He got to work, carefully opening panels, cleaning wires, replacing broken parts. She didn't stop him, but sometimes gave short instructions. "Don't touch that panel," or "That piece needs to be realigned." Her voice never changed. It was calm, almost cold, but never rude. As hours passed, Aaron became curious. Who was she? A soldier? A bounty hunter? He couldn't tell. Her armor was not from any group he knew. Still, he didn't ask. He had learned not to dig into customers' pasts. People came to this remote place when they didn't want to be found. He continued working late into the evening. The woman didn't leave. She stood once or twice to stretch, then returned to her seat. At one point, he offered her a drink from the small station dispenser. "It's just nutrient tea," he said. She looked at the cup for a moment before taking it. Her gloved hand held it carefully. "Thank you." That was the first time her voice sounded softer. Not warm, but no longer sharp. Aaron returned to his work, pretending not to notice. Later that night, as he adjusted the shoulder plates of the armor, he saw something hidden beneath the plating. A royal seal, small but detailed, carved into the metal. His hands paused. It was unlike anything he had seen before. The symbol looked like a sun with wings, glowing slightly under the surface. He looked up at the woman. "This symbol, it's not military, is it?" She didn't answer at first. Then she stood up and walked toward him. For a moment, Aaron thought, she was going to take the armor and leave. But instead, she stood beside him, her voice even. "It's just decoration." Aaron didn't believe that, but he nodded and didn't ask more. He had learned something important. This woman was no regular fighter. That night, after she had gone to rest in one of the spare rooms, Aaron sat alone at his bench, staring at the armor. He had fixed hundreds of suits, but none like this. The technology, the seal, the way she moved, it all pointed to something bigger. He had a strange feeling in his chest, a mix of curiosity and worry. The next day, she returned to watch him finish the final repairs. She still wore the helmet, hiding her face. Aaron tried to make light conversation. "Don't get many visitors like you. Most people who come here are in a rush to leave." "I don't have anywhere to be right now," she replied simply. Aaron glanced at her. "Trouble?" Not the kind I can explain, she said. That was the end of that. Still, over the next few hours, their silence became less heavy. Aaron started telling small stories about broken engines, old captains, even a pet robot he once built that sang during thunderstorms. She didn't laugh, but once he thought he saw her shoulders relax. By evening, the armor was ready, clean, repaired, and shining faintly under the station lights. Aaron stepped back and looked at it with pride. There, good as new. The woman stepped forward, running her fingers over the surface. She turned to him and spoke one final time. You've done well. Thank you. Before he could answer, she picked up the helmet and placed it back on her head. In that moment, Aaron felt like he had missed something important that had been just out of reach. He watched her walk away, a shadow with a secret, and somewhere deep inside, he knew this wouldn't be the last time their paths would cross. The next few days at the repair station felt different. Aaron went back to his usual work, fixing small engines and replacing broken ship parts, but his mind kept going back to the woman in armor. She hadn't left. After the armor was fixed, she asked if she could stay a little longer. She didn't give a reason, but Aaron didn't ask for one either. Something about her presence didn't feel dangerous. It felt quiet, like she was waiting for something. Every evening, she would sit in the corner of the workshop, silent as always. She kept her helmet on most of the time, but occasionally she would remove it when no one else was around. Aaron noticed the change. She was more relaxed in those moments, though still guarded. One night, he saw her looking up at the stars through the dusty glass of the observation room. She stood very still, like the stars meant more to her than he could understand. Aaron joined her. Missing home? He asked gently. She didn't answer at first. Then softly she said, Home doesn't exist anymore. He looked at her, surprised by the sadness in her voice. You lost your planet? Something like that, she replied, then fell silent again. Aaron didn't push further. He knew when not to ask. Over the next few evenings, they began to speak more. It started with small things. She asked about Earth, what it was like to grow up there, what families did, and what humans thought about things like love and loyalty. Her questions were strange, not like a tourist, but like someone who had only read about human life in books and wanted to know if any of it was true. Aaron found her curiosity refreshing. Most aliens he met didn't care about Earth unless they needed something. But she listened to everything he said. When he spoke about his mother's cooking, or the way rain smelled on Earth soil, she closed her eyes for a moment like she was imagining it. What about your family? He asked once. She hesitated. Gone. I'm sorry, Aaron said. She nodded, not saying more. But he noticed how she looked away, as if trying to hide the pain behind her calm expression. Despite her quiet nature, Aaron began to enjoy having her around. She started helping in the workshop, not with big repairs, but small tasks. She had steady hands and sharp eyes. When he struggled with a broken navigation panel one morning, she stepped in without a word and adjusted a few wires. There, she said. You were connecting the bypass line incorrectly, he laughed. And here I thought I was the expert. You are, just a distracted one. Her tone was serious, but Aaron swore he caught a small smile on her lips. As the days passed, the bond between them grew. It wasn't fast or loud. It was quiet, like the way metal cools after welding. Steady, slow, but strong. One afternoon, while cleaning her armor, Aaron noticed a deep scar across the back plate. It wasn't from battle. It looked like someone had tried to destroy it intentionally. He touched the mark gently. This wasn't from a fight, was it? She walked over and looked down at the plate. No, it was from someone I trusted. Aaron didn't ask for the full story, but in that moment, he understood something important. She wasn't just hiding, she had been betrayed. Later that evening, they shared a simple meal in the storage room. Aaron made instant noodles with space vegetables, and she accepted a bowl without complaint. They sat on crates, legs stretched out, eating in silence. Then she asked a question he wasn't expecting. "Why do you live here? Alone?" Aaron stirred his noodles. "I like fixing things, I don't need much, and honestly, people are complicated." She looked at him for a while, then said, "Machines break too, but they can be fixed." "Yeah," he replied, "but some people can't." That night, while he was locking up, he found her standing by the airlock, holding something in her hand. It was a small object, round, silver, and glowing faintly. "What's that?" he asked. She looked at him, then held it out. "A memory stone." He took it carefully. Inside the stone, tiny lights moved like stars in a jar. It was beautiful. "My people use these to store memories," she said. "This one has the last day I saw my father." Aaron gently handed it back. "You miss him?" "Every day," she said. For the first time, he saw her clearly, not just as a stranger or a customer, but as someone carrying heavy pain. Someone who had lost everything and was trying to hold on to the little that was left. That night, he couldn't sleep. He thought about her questions, her silence, and the strange seal on her armor. He had seen royalty before, on news screens and in history logs. The way she carried herself, the way she walked, spoke, and looked at people. It reminded him of those leaders. She never bragged, but she didn't bow either. He started to wonder if maybe, just maybe, she wasn't just anyone. But why would a queen be hiding in a place like this? He didn't know yet. But he was sure of one thing now. This woman wasn't in his life by accident. Something bigger was coming. He could feel it, and he was already a part of it. It was a quiet afternoon when everything changed. Aaron was working on a power converter in the back of the station, while the woman, who still hadn't told him her real name, stood near the windows, watching the skies. She had been more thoughtful than usual that day, looking outside more often, as if waiting for something. He noticed it, but didn't say anything. They had grown comfortable with silence. Suddenly, the warning alarm blared. Aaron jumped to his feet. Red lights flashed across the ceiling, and the monitor on the wall displayed an incoming ship. He checked the radar. The vessel wasn't local. It wasn't listed in the visitor logs, and it was too large to be a personal freighter. It was a Selenian military ship. Aaron's chest tightened. That name rang a bell, Solenia. He had seen it once in her armor's code sequence, but she had never explained what it meant. Now, a warship from that same place was landing right outside his station. He turned toward her, heart racing. "Are they looking for you?" She didn't speak, but her face changed. Her calm expression turned cold. She walked to him quickly and placed both hands on his shoulders. "I need to hide," she said. "Now." Without asking more, Aaron led her to the back storeroom, the one behind his tool racks where spare engines were stored. It had no windows and a second exit tunnel. That led into the maintenance vents. She stepped inside without hesitation. Aaron closed the door behind her just as the docking clamps outside slammed into the landing platform. Moments later, the main door burst open. 3 armored soldiers entered. They wore dark uniforms with the same sunwing symbol Aaron had seen on her armor. They were sharp-eyed, heavily armed, and clearly not friendly. One stepped forward. "We're looking for a fugitive, a woman, tall, Selenian, likely injured. Have you seen anyone unusual?" Aaron swallowed hard. "No, just me here." The soldier scanned the workshop, walking slowly between machines. "She may have come here looking for help. She's dangerous, a traitor to her people." Aaron stayed calm. "I fix engines, not politics." The second soldier picked up a piece of cloth from the floor, a cloth that had touched her armor. Aaron's heart skipped a beat, but the man dropped it without a word. "We'll scan the building," said the lead soldier. Aaron nodded, pretending to work. The soldiers moved room to room, checking behind crates, under tables, even inside his sleeping quarters. They didn't find the hidden storeroom. It was locked behind a tool panel, disguised to blend into the wall. He had built it himself, years ago when smugglers had tried to rob him. Now it was hiding a queen. Finally, after nearly half an hour, the soldiers returned. "She's not here," one of them said. "Let's move," replied the leader. "We're already being tracked." They left quickly, and the ship lifted off within minutes, disappearing into the dark sky. As soon as the noise faded, Aaron rushed back to the storeroom and opened the door. She was there, sitting quietly on a crate, her hands folded in her lap. She looked up at him. "You lied for me?" "I guess I did," Aaron said, breathing heavily. "Who are you really?" This time she didn't look away. She stood up and walked toward him, her voice calm but no longer hiding. "My name is Lyra. I am the Queen of Solenia." Aaron stared at her, speechless. She continued, "I was overthrown by my own council. They called me a traitor for refusing to continue the war. I chose peace. They chose power, so they tried to kill me. But I escaped." Aaron felt like the ground had shifted beneath his feet. The woman he had worked beside, laughed with, shared food with, was a queen? "You've been hiding here all this time?" She nodded. "Not many know I'm alive, and fewer know I came here. But the longer I stay, the more danger you're in." Aaron shook his head. "You saved me more times than I can count, Lyra. You helped me fix half my tools, and you made me see life differently. If someone's in danger now, it's both of us. Together." Lyra looked at him for a long moment. Then, for the first time, she smiled. Not a small one, not hidden, but real and full. "You're not like the others," she said softly. That night, the station felt colder. Aaron and Lyra stayed in the back room, lights dimmed, watching for any signs of return. She explained more, how the Solenian throne worked, how power passed through the royal bloodline, and how she had trusted the wrong people in her court. "I never wanted to rule," she admitted, "but I wanted to protect my people. When I said we should stop fighting, they called me weak. They sent assassins after me the same night." Aaron was quiet. He had never imagined something like this happening in his quiet corner of the galaxy. "You don't have to go back," he said. "You can stay hidden." She shook her head. "I can't. If I don't return, they'll take everything. My people will suffer. The war will never stop. I need to end it, the right way." Aaron didn't know what to say, but he knew one thing. He wouldn't let her go alone. "Then we need to get you out of here, safely." She looked at him. "You'd help me, even now?" He smiled. "I repair more than machines, remember?" Together, they started planning. Aaron had no idea what lay ahead. But he knew this wasn't just a repair job anymore. This was a journey into something far bigger, and he was ready for it. The stars were quiet, but Aaron and Lyra were not. After the soldiers left, everything felt different. The station was no longer a safe place. Aaron knew that if the Solenian troops returned and searched more carefully, they would find her. And if they found her, they'd destroy everything in their path. They couldn't wait anymore. They spent the next 2 nights preparing a plan. Aaron had an old cargo ship stored beneath the station. It hadn't flown in years, but he had kept it in decent shape. With some effort, it could be ready to fly again. It wasn't fast or fancy, but it was reliable, and that was all they needed. He worked on the engines while Lyra upgraded the navigation system using parts from her armor. She was quiet and focused, her fingers moving quickly, almost like she had done this 100 times. Aaron watched her with respect. She wasn't just a queen, she was a survivor. Strong, smart, and determined. During their work, they spoke about many things, about peace, loyalty, and hope. Aaron told her stories from Earth, like how his father used to fix old cars even when they weren't broken, just to keep his hands busy. Lyra listened closely. "You speak of your father often," she said one night while helping him rewire the control panel. Aaron smiled sadly. "He taught me everything I know. He believed in fixing things, machines, people, even broken. Trust." She nodded. "My father was like that too. He said rulers should listen more than they speak. Maybe that's why you're not like other leaders." Lyra looked at him, her eyes soft. "Maybe that's why they tried to get rid of me." By the third day, the ship was ready. They loaded it with fuel, supplies, and one secret item, the memory stone Lyra had shown him. She said it carried proof of her identity and the truth about the betrayal. If she could reach someone loyal in the Solenian resistance, they might help her reclaim the throne, not through war, but through truth. The night before they left, Aaron stood outside the ship, staring at the stars. Lyra came to stand beside him. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. He nodded. "I don't know what's waiting out there, but I know you don't deserve to face it alone." For the first time, Lyra reached out and held his hand. Not as a queen, but as a friend who was no longer afraid to trust. They launched at dawn. The old ship groaned, but lifted smoothly into the sky. Aaron guided it through the asteroid field using old charts and his memory. Lyra kept watch on the radar. They flew in silence for a while, both alert, both hoping they wouldn't be seen. But hope wasn't enough. Halfway through the journey, the radar beeped. 2 Solenian scout ships had spotted them. "We've been identified," Lyra said, her voice calm but tense. Aaron gritted his teeth. "Hang on!" He pushed the ship faster, weaving through a narrow path between asteroids. The engines rattled, but they held. The scouts followed close, firing warning shots. One blast shook the ship, and the lights flickered. "We can't outrun them," Aaron said. "I know," Lyra replied. "But we can outsmart them." She pulled a device from her armor and handed it to him. "This will disrupt their sensors for 30 seconds. You'll need to fly blind." 30 seconds is all I need," he said, gripping the controls. She activated the device. The screen blinked and went dark. Alarms beeped. For half a minute, Aaron flew without radar, relying only on instinct and memory. The ship twisted, turned, dove between rocks. Then, silence. When the systems came back on, the scouts were gone. Lyra exhaled. "You did it." Aaron leaned back. "Remind me never to do that again." They laughed, relieved, exhausted, but stronger. Soon they reached a small moon where Lyra believed a loyal contact was hiding. The moon was cold and quiet, covered in snow and dark forests. They landed near an abandoned mining facility and waited. That night, a figure approached their ship. He was tall, with silver hair and dark eyes. He wore no armor but carried a communicator that blinked with the royal seal. "Queen Lyra," he said, bowing slightly. "You're alive." Lyra stepped forward. "General Kale, you served my father." "I still serve the true crown," he said. She handed him the memory stone. "This holds proof of what happened. I need your help." Kyle nodded. "The resistance is strong, but they lost hope. Your return will change everything." Aaron watched from behind. He felt out of place, now surrounded by people who spoke like warriors. But Lyra looked back at him and gave a small nod, as if to say, "You belong here too." In the following days, Kale arranged for Lyra to speak with other leaders from the resistance. They met in secret locations, moving from planet to avoid spies. Lyra shared her plan, not revenge, not war, but truth and peace. Some leaders agreed, others were unsure, but no one doubted her courage. Aaron fixed broken equipment, repaired ships, and offered advice when asked. He wasn't royalty or a soldier, but people began to respect him. They saw how Lyra listened to him, how she trusted him. Slowly, the others did too. One night, Kyle approached him. "You've earned her trust. That's not easy." Aaron looked down. "I didn't try to. I just treated her like a person." Kyle smiled. That's exactly what she needed. By the end of the week, Lyra stood before a council of resistance leaders. She wore her repaired armor, her voice strong. "I don't want power. I want peace. Let me return, not to rule with fear, but to show them another way." The council voted. The decision was made. Lyra would return to Selenia, and Aaron would go with her. They were no longer just a mechanic and a runaway. They were a team, and the real battle was only beginning. The day they returned to Selenia was unlike anything Aaron had ever imagined. The planet looked beautiful from space. Blue oceans, green forests, and shining cities. But beneath the surface, the people were divided. Some welcomed the queen's return with hope. Others feared war and more bloodshed. Aaron stood beside Lyra as their small ship descended toward the capital city. The once grand palace, now dark and quiet, awaited her arrival. He could feel the tension in the air, a mix of excitement, fear, and uncertainty. When the ship landed, a crowd gathered. Some people cheered quietly, others whispered nervously. Soldiers loyal to the current rulers watched from a distance, their faces cold and unreadable. Lyra stepped out first, wearing her repaired armor. She looked strong, but calm. Aaron followed, carrying the memory stone in his hand, a symbol of her true claim. As they walked through the city streets, Aaron saw the effects of the recent troubles. Shops closed, families afraid, children hiding. It was clear that the people had suffered under the war and betrayal. Lyra stopped in the city square, where a large crowd had gathered. She raised her hand to speak. "My people," she said clearly, "I did not want to leave you, but I had to find peace so I could return. The war that has divided us must end. We can rebuild together." Her voice was strong but gentle. The crowd listened, some with tears in their eyes. Aaron watched her, amazed. The queen he had met in the workshop was now a leader facing an entire planet. But the battle was not over. The council that had taken her place refused to give up power easily. They sent soldiers to block her path, to stop her from reaching the palace. Aaron saw the fear in Lyra's eyes, but she did not hesitate. "We will talk," she said. "Violence will not solve this. With the help of loyalists like General Kale, they negotiated with the council. It was a tense process, full of disagreements and old wounds. But Lyra's calm strength won over many. She promised fairness, justice, and a future without war." Meanwhile, Aaron worked behind the scenes. He repaired communication systems, fixed security doors, and even helped disarm traps left by the council to stop them. His skills as an engineer were just as important as Lyra's leadership. One night, as they prepared for a final meeting with the council, Aaron and Lyra sat together in a quiet room. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything." He smiled. "I only did what anyone would do for a friend." She looked at him differently now. No longer just a stranger or a mechanic, but someone she trusted deeply. The next day, the council agreed to step down peacefully. Lyra was reinstated as queen, but this time, she ruled with the support of her people and her new allies. The first order of business was peace talks with neighboring planets. Lyra wanted to ensure that Selenia would never fall into war again. Aaron helped set up the technology needed for these talks, making sure messages were clear and secure. As the weeks passed, life on Selenia began to change. Streets filled with laughter, markets opened, and families reunited. The scars of the past were still there, but hope was stronger. Aaron stayed by Lyra's side through it all. They worked as a team, she as the queen, he as her trusted companion and engineer. Their bond grew deeper, built on respect, trust, and shared struggles. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Lyra invited Aaron to the palace garden. The stars above twinkled softly as they walked. "You saved me when no one else could," she said. He shook his head. "You saved yourself. I just helped a little." She smiled and took his hand. "Together we're stronger." Aaron looked at her and knew it was true. In a world full of uncertainty and danger, they had found something rare: friendship, trust, and maybe even love. The human engineer who once only fixed machines had become the heart of a queen's new reign. And together, they were ready to face whatever came next.